Tom here, just for a quick little amendment before we get to today's episode. We say in the episode that we're not sure if the documentary is going to be on Sky's store. I can confirm now it is going to be on there, which is absolutely awesome. Slightly bad news, I suppose, is that it's being pushed back. So it's going to be the start of November that this thing is going to come out. But, if it isn't in the future, that doesn't really matter. So, yeah, enjoy the episode. This is a great chat with Tom. And check out the documentary when you get a chance. Hey everyone, hey, welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Quee. Just before we get to today's very exciting guest, follow us at Battle Rap Resume on Twitter, battleresume@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me. The Patreon and iTunes are there. If you want to give back, you can donate, you can leave a review as well on the latter. Please subscribe, please comment. Today we're talking about something that you probably, as a fan of battle rap, UK battle rap for a little while, you may have been aware of this in the periphery, that there was a pretty huge, I've seen it myself, lucky enough, privileged to have a preview copy, pretty massive UK battle rap documentary, a proper, official documentary with the talking heads and the footage and the slick editing and all that. And it's absolutely marvelous. And it seems to have been, I don't want to say production hell, but it seems to have been a long gestation period. I think I originally, reached out to discuss this, 2 years ago or so, and it's been going through. But finally, we've got a release date in sight, which is the 1st of October, for War of the Words. And we're going to be discussing it today with one of the co-directors, Tom Worth. Tom, how's it going?
Not too bad. Nice to meet you.
Oh, and battle rap for yourself then. We're going to get onto this giant monster project, but what sparked the interest initially?
Well, I mean, I kind of like many kind of, casual people, I kind of knew battle rap had sort of, I was not a major hip hop fan, but I like my hip hop music, and it was kind of like there in the periphery. And then like the Grist Blizzard battle blew up on my Facebook at the time, the teacher versus student battle. But then, then it kind of went away again. I wasn't really aware of it. And then friends of Craig, my co-director, wanted to make a documentary about him learning to be a battle rapper. And so he had got involved, or sort of like got in touch with and Kruger at Don't Flop and introduced us to it. And we thought this is really interesting. So we were kind of like just started, looking into doing some documentary about him learning to be a battle rapper. And then he kind of got a new girlfriend and sort of got less interested in the scene. So the idea of him being a battle rapper then kind of went away. Mm-hmm. But me and Craig were kind of like, this is fascinating. This seems amazing. Someone should make a documentary about this. And they were like, well, we should make a documentary about this. And so, kind of went from there.
And what's the documentary background? Have you done anything like this before?
So I produced a documentary for the Globe Theatre where they do a tour every summer. And they did a tour of Hamlet around the UK and Europe. And I produced that. And me and Craig ran a production company. We did loads of short form stuff and short films, and we were gearing up. So, like, at the time of starting this documentary, we hadn't made any feature films, and now that it's taken so long to make the documentary, we have made some feature films. But yeah, it's kind of like as directors, we hadn't directed like a full length documentary before, so it's very much like part of the reason it took so long to make is we basically learned how to make a documentary by making this documentary. Yeah. But it's been a hell of a journey.
And when people finally get the chance to see it, I should say this is 1st of October, right? DVD and video on demand is when it's coming out.
Yeah, 1st of October. So apparently, it should be, it's out on DVD and also like iTunes and Amazon, and like hopefully, I think it's going to be on. You'll be able to get it on your PlayStation and Xbox and everything. But like it's pay at the start, and then hopefully at some point in the future it'll go on to Amazon Prime or Netflix or something like that. But
And I cannot urge, enough, really, anyone listening to this will have to see it. It is a spoil of riches in terms of the footage. And today, I figured, we'll just sort of go through the basic backbone of the structure. And there's so much good stuff to see. So much stuff that really made me smile. So many moments that you captured that I thought might have been lost in interviews with people, etc. And one of the things that I love so much about the documentary is in a nostalgic sense. It's kind of looking back to the glory days. It's kind of anchored around the 2013 boom period, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the main area that we were kind of active and filming was 2012, 2013. But actually, it's funny, is like I've looked back on it since, and I don't like some of the examples we've got of various things in there. I don't think there's been better examples of like moments in the scene that have happened since. So I kind of think that I think 2012 and 2013 and sort of 2011 to 2013 was a real time when it kind of like the scene grew, and also people were really kind of pushing the boundaries of what you could say, and also like coming with different styles and different angles, and it was really kind of like exploring the possibilities of the medium. And so I think we were quite lucky in that, as like we just sort of caught it at the right moment.
And, you know, in the classic structure of these things, you have the battles playing in between, and then you're cutting back to the talking heads of, you know, people like Bagnall, people like Shufflo, all the jump-off guys, Archaic. Like, how long did that take to organise all these interviews?
Oh God, how long? We must have been filming. We were filming for quite a long time of interviews, and then some of the interviews we'd started editing, and we were like, oh God, we need a quote or something like this, and so we interviewed them quite late on. And some of them, the initial couple of interviews, like the Luna Sea and O'Shea interviews were really early on, and we didn't have a fucking clue what we were doing at the time.
Right.
And so we watched back the interviews. There's like so much stuff that we should have asked them, but we didn't even know about at the time because we were just starting on the journey. It's ridiculous. But then some of them were later, and then the stuff like Ara from Jump Off, like he really didn't want to be on camera. It took us like a year to persuade him to actually sit down for an interview with us. And then for various reasons we'll probably get into later in the conversation, it took me 2 years to persuade to actually sit down and do a sit-down interview with me. He was really cool. And like, you know, I was following events, and I went out to LA with him and all this kind of stuff, but he was really wary about, you know, sitting down to a proper interview. And I mean, as I say, like I wasn't part of the scene when we started making this, and people were rightly very wary of us. And so it took a amount of time. You know, I had to kind of like go and you know, go to events and chat to people and kind of gain their trust that I wasn't kind of like, because it'd be very easy to do like a hatchet job on the battle rap scene.
Yeah.
And people I think are quite wary of that. And then, you know, I remember chatting at one point, the Radio 4 Today program, we're going to do a thing on battle rap, and they wanted Marlowe and Shuffle to talk about it. And they were kind of like talking to the researcher, and they just got the feeling that it was going to be a bit of a kind of like, oh, isn't this terrible? And they're going to be apologists for it. And so they pulled out the interview. So I think, you know, a lot of people in the scene are quite wary of the press and how the scene can be portrayed. So it did take us quite a while to kind of gain some people's trust.
Yeah, well, I mean, fear not, listeners. It's a huge celebration of the scene, and it's really educational as well. You go through all the standard markers, the jump-off era, the WRCs, you know, showing some of these, like, clips as well that I'd never seen before, like Kruger versus Jamie, and Archaic battling someone at a tree. Like, this is early prehistoric.
So I've got a tape, which Kruger gave me, of what was the first ever Don't Flop event, which they shot like under a tree in a park in Norwich. But it was so terrible that they never put it out. And to be honest, I don't know, you know, I don't think either of them have even, like, and Kruger have even watched it since. It was like, you know, I don't know, 2007, I suppose, 2008. Yeah. So yeah, I've still got that tape, actually. I've got loads of tapes. I need to give back to Kruger at some point. Still got them sat in my office.
You need to give them me, I think, but
So yes, for people watching, there's a line in there where it's, what's his name? It's Marshy against Archaic.
Oh, it's Marshy, is it?
Yeah, it's a guy called Marshy, who was great, but it's terrible, but it's hilarious. But you just have to, on that point, when you're watching the film, just look at Archaic's expression. When Marshy says the line, I'm not going to say any more than that, but just watch Archaic's expression because it's so good.
Yeah. It's a classic turn to the camera, Tim from The Office special. I think it's absolutely spot on. And lots like even like little trivial stuff. Like I've never really seen a picture of the Jump Off website with the sort of the scoreboard and the uploads and stuff. Just loads of vintage stuff like that.
We kind of raided the Wayback Machine trying to find a load of old Jump Off stuff, and some of it had to kind of half rebuild in Photoshop because the bits weren't there. But yeah. And also we got all of the tapes, as much as there are tapes, off Jump Off as well. So stuff like the Professor Green thing, you see Professor Green footage, and we've gone back to the original tapes. So like most people have only ever seen those old battles at like 320p on YouTube in really shit quality. We've actually gone back to the original tapes, so you can like see some Professor Green in nice quality. And also there was loads of behind the scenes stuff for the World WRC's 07 that were never aired. And so we used that for the first time. So yeah, so thanks. I mean, like, yeah, thanks so much to Ara and Harry for letting us use those tapes.
Yeah, funnily enough, I watched a documentary yesterday called Hype from 1996, which is basically about the grunge scene and the grunge explosion. And it reminded me a little bit of this documentary because it's just sort of going from person to person and, historical moment to moment. And there isn't really much of a narrative through line apart from the fact that, and I love this, and I think people, are going to lap this up, that you follow Shuffle and Marlowe basically from being told they're going to battle Marvin Quest to it ending with their battling Marvin Quest. And the Marvin Quest battle is so symbolic, really, of the new guard and, Shuffle sniffing his shoe and what the fuck is this, and this is going in a whole new direction. It kind of made sense, I suppose. I don't want to call them the stars of it because there's lots of other people, but they're kind of in, aren't they?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it needed, as you say, because it's part of the reason it took so long to make the film is because we're like, well, how do you end it? Because it's like a scene that carries on, and where's your end point?
Yeah.
And it got to a point at one point we've just got to finish, and so we kind of had that, so we kind of you had something going through, so you kind of keep going back to see Marlowe and Shuffle as they prepare for this battle, and then that gives you a bit of an idea of where you are in the structure, because otherwise it's kind of it's quite sort of episodic as you go through. And it's kind of annoying because it's now, if we'd have still been making it, in the last year or so, you've got a perfect end for the film in many ways,
You do.
But but it was after it took so long to make, it's I'm not going back in now.
You get to see them in their kitchen.
Marlowe and Shuffle, they were so good.
Oh yeah,
I love those guys. I mean, they came through whilst we were making the film, and in fact, their first ever event that they attended was a freestyle event in Shepherd's Bush. And we were there just shooting some background. There's a clip in the film of DK freestyling outside an event, and that was that event. That was happened to be the first time Marlowe and Shuffle went to an event, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and that was the night. So it was after premiere of Ice-T's film, which I can't remember the name. Ice-T made a documentary about rap.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember that.
We managed to get on the press line at the start of that. And so we got little snatched interviews with Ice-T and Raekwon and Ghostface Killer and Melly Mel and Chuck D, and just asked them about battle rap, and a few of those clips have made into the film.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, one of them makes it into the Cali footage, doesn't it? Towards
the
end.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, was Ice-T there? But obviously that wasn't quite the right thing. Yeah, but you get to see Shuffle and Marlowe in their kitchen. You get to see them coming up with Maltese. And Shuffle on the laptop laughing, and then in a car together, and then practicing on a riverbank as well, and it's quite artfully shot. It's lovely.
It's just outside, there's a pond near where actually Marlowe's parents have moved, but it was there near Marlowe's parents' house. Yeah.
You mentioned before O'Shea in his Morrison shirt. And
we shot this is another bit as well. We shot O'Shea in his job in Morrison's on his night shift. And that got cut in the end. Oh. But so we followed O'Shea as he was stacking boxes in Morrison's.
And I can't imagine how arduous this is when you've got all the interviews, you've got all the footage, just putting it together. I mean, can you give us a brief play-by-play? Are you and Craig deciding on the structure? Are you playing it by ear to a certain extent, or?
So, kind of as we were going, it kind of we filmed. Because we started off just stuff was happening and we were just grabbing interviews and filming events and things, and then kind of we started getting more of an idea. And as this was going, I was doing more and more kind of research and so on. Just watching. Research is basically watching shitloads about it. And then kind of a structure kind of started to, or the key moments started to kind of, okay, this is definitely a moment, and so on. And then sort of later on the interviews that we did, we were far more structured. So when I finally got to interview her, I kind of had an idea of what the structure was. Similar, I left MA. I interviewed MA quite late on because he's someone who'd kind of been there as an observer, and it was brilliant. And his interview was really good, and he had some really good stuff to say. And so kind of those interviews were a bit more I had a bit of a structure. And then basically it's me. We found an editor, Barry, who's this Irish guy who was brilliant. And me and him basically just sat down for 5 months every day. I sat, in his bedroom mainly at the start, where his machine was, and we just edited. And Craig had come in from time to time, but Craig was on various other things at that point. So it's kind of the edit was mainly me and Barry. But it was really good. And Barry was kind of completely new to the scene, and I kind of very much wanted that from the editor. So it's kind of a number of things I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've got to put this in, and him as a kind of like independent non-battle rap observer was just like, nah, that's not interesting. Like, this is interesting,
Right.
from an outsider, because I very much wanted to make this film for people who knew nothing about battle rap and introduce them. I mean, like everybody, all the listeners here, if you're listening to a battle rap podcast, you are battle rap fans.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to love it, but you know most of the story. But the film was very much trying to introduce people, and so I thought it was quite important to have somebody who was a complete outsider. And it's also really nice. So I started off editing it chronologically, and so I kind of like started off with him on the jump off stuff. It was all freestyle, and you could see him getting more and more like into the battling. And when the written stuff came in, he was like, "Oh, this stuff's so much better." So it's quite fun, yeah.
In terms of historical context, pull a move that I guess, and I mean this in a good way, Radio 4 might have done with Shuffle and Marlowe. You get David Crystal involved. David Crystal's someone that we've spoken about on the show a little bit before. I think him and Shuffle had a bit of email correspondence. For those not aware, oh, did you? Oh, is that how that happened? Oh, that's cool. He's kind of the daddy of linguistic theory. Pretty much every literature student studied his books, and he's done lots of cool stuff on wordplay and puns and way more sophisticated semiotics. But he just kind of does the classic. It used to be called flighting back in the day and all that.
Yeah. The flighting of Dunbar and Kennedy from Scotland. Right. Yeah, he was so brilliant. It was like we did an interview with him. It was like our producer Charlotte got us in touch. And it's one of those interviews we sort of sat with him for like an hour or something and just came out of it thinking, I'm way more intelligent now than I was at the start of that hour. He was so good. And there's loads of stuff. Like he did quite a lot of the stuff that he talked to us about. Obviously, it was more about sort of linguistics generically for rap or whatever, rather than more specific for the battling. So there was so much stuff that was really interesting, but wasn't quite right for this film. But we should, at some point, I just need to pull it out and stick it on YouTube or something because it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm just flicking through just some screens as we're talking, and I'm looking at the Kruger battle. Didn't realize you actually see censor over his shoulder. So this is some OG stuff.
How much you see little bits.
Yeah, all the people populating. Of course, there are sections towards the end on Grist and Luna. I mean, they had to be covered, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, because it's. I mean, Luna was very much. I mean, so the interesting thing about Luna. So when we first started talking to Rowan about doing a documentary was just at the time when Luna had kind of quit and there was bad blood between the two of them. And so was kind of like, yeah, you can make a documentary about Don't Flop, that's cool, but you're not allowed to talk to Luna.
Right.
In which we were kind of like, as documentary makers, well, there's a story there. So like immediately in secret, supposedly, went and talked to Luna. Craig went up there and interviewed him. But then, obviously that got back to her because, everybody, the amount of we realised is, within the scene, everyone was chatting to each other after we'd interviewed them and all this kind of stuff, and everything got back to her. And then, her was really pissed off with us right from the start, and it was just like, oh, that was clever, wasn't it? But it's interesting seeing the kind of the journey that relationships go in. And this is one of the things, one of the nice things about, I think, the fact we took so long making the film. Is at the start, those little things as, oh, there's beef between these two people, or this person's quit, and that's a really important story. And the longer you kind of cover the scene, you realise that kind of stuff isn't the important stuff. And people quit, and then they come back, and they goes, right, I've retired from battling, and then they'll do another battle a year later, and you realise, over the grand scheme of things, that those aren't really the interesting stories. And actually, what we realised as we were going through, the interesting stuff. What we always came back to is the actual battling, the actual kind of art of the battle and what gets said. And so all the way through, there was all this kind of all the stuff that everyone loves to talk about on the forums and all that kind of stuff actually isn't really the interesting stuff. The interesting stuff is what gets said in the battles and why and and all that kind of thing. So that's what we always came back to.
And you focus as well on DK, which I love. And I love just seeing battlers in different environments. We get to see her in the pub, writing bars, outside freestyling. I mean, again, she was a great character that era, so it made sense, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of, it's interesting. It was one of the things I feel that I didn't confront enough, actually, was kind of misogyny in the battle scenes. We do a whole section, we cover racism and homophobia, which we might talk about in a bit, but and that kind of it's part of with DK, but DK was kind of her point was just I just want to get on with it. I don't care about the fact that I don't want to be treated as a female battler. I just want to be a battler, and and fair play to her. I got a lot of time for DK. I think she's great. She gets so much stick from like various, but like, you know, she did some great battles.
Yeah.
And again, like, you know, in the the Enigma battle, which is in there.
Yeah, you speak to Enigma as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, we did a screening and Enigma came down and watched it as well and did a little Q&A afterwards, like Enigma and Shuffle. It was great.
Oh, right. Cool. Was that filmed?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, you've spoiled us really, so it's a bit greedy to ask for more.
Yeah.
And...
But no, like, yeah, Enigma was great. I mean, we kind of like, we interviewed him quite early on. In fact, we interviewed him before that battle. And he was kind of like, yeah, you know, he was telling me all his plans for that battle. And he was like, I'm going to, you know, I'm making up a load of shit about her. I'm going to try and make her cry and all this kind of stuff. And, yeah, that didn't really work out for him. But it's kind of like Enigma is very much, he quite liked being the sort of pantomime villain of the scene. And, you know, you can always get a good quote from him. But also, like, I've got, you know, he's a really smart guy. I think, you know, he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
He might have said some dodgy shit, but, you know, I've got a lot of time for him.
Definitely George is a good dude, and we had him on the show quite a while ago. That was a really good episode. And, you know, all in all, it's a pretty compact hour, but realistically, you could have made a 10-part Ken Burns style thing, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could do. I mean, it's because this is the other part of the reason it took so long. So this is like any documentary makers out here. This is what we learn. So initially, we were kind of like, as we were kind of getting towards the end of the film, it was about 90 minutes long. And we were talking to kind of sales agents and people who are going to buy it. And they were all like, oh, yeah, we like to see it kind of, you know, before it's finished so we can have a bit of an input into the edit. So we were like, okay, cool. So we made a film that was rough around the edges and it was too long. It was like 90 minutes. And like no one really bit on the film and we couldn't get any sales or that kind of stuff. And so we kind of like, you know, messed around trying for about sort of 6 months trying to get that finished and no one was really buying it. And it was kind of like, you know, because it was long and it was a bit messy structurally. And so then we just went, and then also people were saying, oh, you know, no one wants a 90-minute documentary now. They want TV length. So they want like 52 minutes or 57 minutes or whatever it is. So we're like, all right, fuck it. Let's try and cut it down. And so we took the 90-minute and we stripped out like, you know, everything that wasn't needed, and we tried to get it down to like 57. In the end, we got it down to, well, it's about 62 minutes with 2 minutes of credits on the end, so it's 64. But like we just couldn't pull it down any more than that without losing something that we really loved. But I think it was, from the film's point of view, that was a really good process because we took out, like, there's no dead weight in this film. It cracks along at such a pace. We kind of like cover everything in such a short period of time. But yeah, you say like there's so much stuff that we didn't cover, and the stuff like the jump, like in the World Rap Championships, we have a whole thing on the WRC 06, and we basically in the film don't mention 06 and pretend that the 07 is kind of like the only one. You can like do a bit of an editorial fluff. Yeah. So that there's all sorts of stuff that we just had to cut, and we did a whole section, like, you know, as on money, and because that was a big thing at the time, and then it kind of went away, and now I'm kind of wishing that we kept it in because it's kind of come back again.
And it really is perfect for newcomers and veterans alike because, you know, again, that grunge documentary that I watched the other day, there were so many bands that were like, oh, who's this? You know, I need to check this out. Made a little Spotify playlist, and there's so many battle clips. You know, you capture so many great moments that I'm sure people are going to go off and watch, you know, whoever, certainly Shuffle and Marlowe are sold brilliantly. And one of the things about documentaries in general, I love how, I mean, it's more of a drama, but any genre really, it always closes with a few sentences on a black screen that make it more somber. You know, you find if they got out of prison or they died or whatever. I love that this one ends with Quest McCody has since admitted on Twitter that he is in possession of the missing World Rap Championship tapes. That was very carefully worded because he's now claiming that he didn't say, but he did say it. He tweeted that he was in possession of it. So it's very carefully worded, so he can't deny it. Yeah. But he sort of said he told a story on a podcast in the States about the stolen tapes and how and he was kind of like going, oh yeah, and then kind of like someone stole them and then outside kind of talked to us and sort of like said we'd look after them, and it was such a bullshit story. Right. And like, you know, the general thought, I think, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but the general thought in the scene is kind of like it was someone related to Marvin Quest who stole the tapes. Yeah. I mean, pretty much everyone seems to be pointing towards them. So it wouldn't be too far of a stretch. So the edit that you sent me as the preview in the thumbnail, the watermark is August 2016. So is that when the final thing was edited?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably. Probably when it was all finished and graded and mixed and so on. Yeah,
and then
then we did.
The premiere you did, right, was around that time, or?
Yeah. So, I suppose it would. Was it 17 that we
Maybe, because I do remember, as such a mega fan, like and Kruger talking about this and sharing images of them, all together.
So it was Dance Film Festival.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on my Twitter, on my Facebook, and see if I can find it. It was probably about then. So we played. It probably was 2016. So it was Rain Dance 2016. And then we played Rotterdam Film Festival. Oh, there we go. Yeah, September 2016. Then we played Rotterdam Film Festival in sort of like February 2017. And then there's a couple of other festivals. Then we played, I helped run a film festival in South London, Herne Hill Free Film Festival, where I live. And we did a screening there, and that's when we got Enigma and Shuffle down and did a Q&A with them, which was really fun. I mean, the Q&A, the Rain Dance screening, it was quite a small screening. It was only like 80 capacity or something crazy like that. And we basically filled it with, people who were in the film or, helped us make the film or friends. I think there were like 2 people in there who weren't somehow related to the film. And so the Q&A afterwards was basically just all of us in the room just having a chat. It was really fun.
Yeah, there's. I'm just on your Twitter now at BattleRapDoc, and the 24th of September 2016. There's all the guys and yourself.
That was the last time I tweeted.
Yeah. Kruger's there, Marlowe's there, Bagnall's there. Happier times, definitely. And the
Aaron was there as well.
Yeah. And the Twitter's another good source of info. There's a few photos of you editing it. Color grading took place in September 2015. Hers on screen. And so the distribution then, as you mentioned before, just to remind people, the 1st of October, which I'll be promoting heavy myself. That's when people can first see the thing, right?
Yeah. So basically, the reason it's, again, one of the other reasons it's taken so long. So we played these festivals. We did sign with a sales agent who then, basically, the person who signed us, who was really keen on the film, then promptly left the company.
Right.
And it seemed like no one else in the company really gave a shit about our film. And then we kept sort of pressing and sort of saying, "Have you done anything?" And hadn't heard anything from them. And then they kind of like came back and said, "Oh yeah, we're trying to sell it into In-Flight." And we were like, "Have you even watched the film? Like, In-Flight censor everything, and this film is just wall-to-wall swearing."
Yeah.
So we just got the feeling that they didn't have a clue, and so we actually got out of that contract with mutual consent. And we've signed with another company, 101 Films, who were great, and they're really keen on it. And I had a meeting with them on Thursday, and so there's going to be a big social media push for the film. And so, yes, finally, people are actually going to get to see this film. So I'm so excited. Yeah, October the 1st. And everyone needs to go out and buy it, because the way it works, if it does really well, when people buying it, gives us more chance to then get it out on like Amazon Prime or Netflix or get a TV sale or whatever. So if you all go out and buy it and get it up on the iTunes charts and all that kind of stuff, that'd be perfect. Yeah,
and then you can make the sequel, the heavy hitting follow up about the end of this dream.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot going on now that I kind of think, oh, that'd be really good.
Yeah,
and also I kind of like think, if anyone's gonna, because it's quite, as you've kind of like found, I'm sure, because you've been covering the fallout of guys leaving Don't Flop and so on. Like, getting the trust of people to come and talk to you is quite tricky, and trying to be objective and all that kind of thing. And so it's kind of like, I kind of feel if anyone's going to do it, I'm probably in a good place to do it, but I'm just not. There's no way I'd do it unless someone was, paying for it up front, or, there's some kind of distribution sorted. Because it's just like this film basically bankrupted our company, but trying to get it out there,
Another thing you sent across was the LA section when Kruger and all the boys went off to King of the Dot Vendetta, which is completely excised from the film. Is that right? Just because it wouldn't work with the runtime?
It's one of my favourite sequences, and in fact, like when we first started making the film, so we made the film, and then we shot enough to make a trailer, which is the trailer that's online, probably people have seen. And then we did a bit of crowdfunding, so thanks to any one of you guys who gave us some money. Yeah. And we will be giving you stuff in return. I know we've been fucking terrible on the crowdfunding as well. So, and then the first thing we did is we cut this LA section where it was like, so I went out to LA with the guys who were battling at Vendetta. And then a friend of mine, Oscar, was filming. So Bamalam had invited a load of the battlers to watch the pay-per-view at his flat in Camberwell.
Yes.
And so we had a guy filming them watching the battles over here. And then we've cut the two sequences together. And that was the first thing we cut. And we kind of I thought, this is the best bit of the film. We cut that as to try and get investment. And it worked. We got investment off the back of this thing, all that kind of stuff. But then whenever we put it into the film, it just didn't fit. Because it's kind of it's a long section. And it just sort of took you out of the narrative of the film. And so in the end, we cut it out, which was kind of, gutting. But this is what I say in films, isn't it? You've got to kill your babies kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm really pleased. It's going to be on the DVD extra, and I think it's going to be on iTunes extra as well, so people will see that section.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. It's like a big boys Beano over to sunny LA, and you get to see having his photo taken with Vince McMahon's Hollywood star, and all of them having a laugh over there, and all of them interviewing with the locals, and a film premiere's happening as they're walking by. Alec Baldwin seen on screen. Yeah,
it was Rock of Ages. So I had a hire car because basically it was Erwin Kruger and Bagnall and Bentlegs. And then who else was Enigma and Natural and Impact?
Yeah,
I think had gone out. So I think it was the seven of them. And I've got, my best friend from school now lives near LA. So I was kind of cool, I'll go out and I'll stay with him and catch up with him as well. And this was the second battle event I'd ever been to. I'd been to the first night we screamed, so the start of the film, which was the Shotty Yunnan battle. Which is in Concrete and Shoreditch. That's the first battle event I'd been to, and the second one I ever went to was Vendetta with Cannabis and Disaster, which was kind of mad. But yeah, so I was kind of following around, and I had this hire car, so I took them we all drove up to Hollywood, and I'll take them to the Walk of Fame, and it would just happen to be it was Rock of Ages premiere with Tom Cruise and Alec Baldwin and Catherine Zeta-Jones and all this kind of stuff, and it was kind of mad, and we were sort of wandering around, and I was filming them. And then they got it was DFAFD had just they'd just kind of come up with that as a phrase, and so they found this place where you could custom design your caps, and so Liam and Bentlegs both got DFAFD caps, which you can see in the film various places.
Yeah,
and it was really fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, I think that's when Enigma got the tattoo as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That was on Venice Beach. That was it was the day after. I wasn't there for that, unfortunately. No. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure I heard some of Ogmios's Last Picnic in the background.
Yeah, there's two Ogmios tracks in there. He lets us use some of his music. Very cool. For the jump off section. I love Ogmios. That's a great album.
Yeah, that is a fantastic. Really, we covered it actually on the show, so definitely check out that review with Michael. Yeah, but we get to see Bagnall seeing a red cam for the first time, and everyone remembers King of the Dot Vendetta. Despite Diz and Cannabis, was an amazing event. DNA versus Urs, one of my favourite battles, and that intro of them being interviewed against the high-rise backdrop, and we get to see all that going down, and there's just so much juicy behind-the-scenes stuff that any battle rap fan, you guys really need to buy this documentary and support this documentary. It's been a huge labour of love, and so fun to watch. And then the watching party, the viewing party set at Bam's house as well, where Eyes is there, Joker Star, Pamphlet, Villain, all of the scene really, watching the rest of the scene progress. It's wonderful.
It's great, isn't it? I love watching that scene. The people that were in that room, it's just everyone's there. It's Joker Star, Bleak's there, Mickey Worthless.
Mickey,
There's another lovely bit as well. So didn't make the cut, but there's a bit where Villain I think had just done his first battle, or maybe done two battles at the time, and Villain was there, and Mickey and him were walking along the street. So they all met up in Camberwell, and Bam took everyone back to his flat, and Oscar was filming them. There's a little bit of walking along the street, and Mickey gave Villain his cap as a kind of intro to the scene. You're you're now one of us, and I'm going to give you this cap. And he told this whole story. It's a cap that he wore when he nearly got arrested, and this story. And it's a really lovely little moment that just didn't fit in. It's one of the many things that at some point I'm going to have to dig out and stick on YouTube or something.
But
it's kind of it's really weird looking back now. It's Villain was this this young guy who'd just done this one battle and was still really kind of quiet and not confident. And
Yeah, well, as I said before, October 1st, this is going down. What about yourself, documentary-wise, Tom? I'm guessing pastures new. You're kind of moving on from battle rap. Sick of it.
Well, yeah. So I mean, interesting. I've just started a permanent job after 10 years of freelance. But yeah, so now I'm kind of more. I've moved more into editing. Interesting. I used to edit quite a bit before this, but I always wanted to get another editor on this documentary because I kind of felt that was kind of, as I say before, it's important to have an outside voice. But yeah, sitting next to Barry for 5 months as he was editing this was like the best editing course I could have ever have gone on. And so I've kind of very much got into editing more from that. But I would like to do some more directing. Yeah, so the company I'm at, I'm sort of as an editor, but they want me to do some more directing. So it's kind of like, yeah, I've got a couple of ideas for documentaries I'd like to make. So there's nothing on the cards at the moment, but we will see.
All right. And, I mean, besides War of Words, is there anything else you'd like to promo, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter if you want, Tom Worth Tweets, but it's mainly just, retweets of me ranting about Brexit, probably.
Right,
so
right.
You may not want to bother with that. Yeah, coming up. So Battle Rap Doc is the current Twitter handle. We will starting to gear up for that. So follow that for all the information. And we're also on Facebook at the moment. Yeah, nothing's been posted for a while, but hopefully by the time you listen to this, it might have been updated.
Yeah.
And there is an Instagram as well, which is probably also Battle Rap Doc, which I did post some like edit screen grabs and things.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we will be gearing up on all that. So look out for us.
Yeah, we will, of course, put all the information down below, all the links. Again, people, please go out, please watch this, please support this. It is truly brilliant. I think, actually, when it comes out, I might do a long review with a guest or something where we actually break it all down, because the amount of content, and I just want to say thank you personally, Tom, to you and Craig and everyone else involved, for the great work that you've put here. So, yeah, people go support at Battle Rap Resume as well, battleresume@gmail.com as ever. Patreon is there, iTunes is there. But, Tom, this has been a treat. Thank you again, man.
Well, thank you very much for having me.